I wanted to show you guys what I'm doing on that because there's a little bit of confusion or question about it. Number one, it's not a double bass pattern when you start. And somebody mentioned the right foot being on the downbeat or the left foot being on the downbeat. But let me show you this and explain it to you. It's really pretty simple. It's in 3/4 time. And I guess the best way to show you this is just think 1 and 2 and 3 and. It's just simple eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and. But we're going to start with our feet. And we're going to start with the downbeat being on our left foot. But we're not going to play the left foot on the kick drum. We're going to play it on the hi-hat. So it's really simple. It's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and so forth. Now, all we have to do is add 4 beats with our hands on them. And we're going to do it on beats number 1, if I remember right. Beat number 1, obviously. On beat 2, we're going to do our right hand. On beat 2 and, we're going to do a left hand. And then on beat 3, we're going to do a right hand. So on beat number 1, let's play a flam. All right, now you could play a flam on whatever part of the kit you want. I think on that part there, I did a flam on the floor tom and my first tom, which on that kit, it's a 10-inch. So the second beat, beat 2, we're just going to play a right hand on the floor tom. But on 2 and, we're going to play, and then on 3, we're going to come back on our floor tom. So we're going to have 1 and 2 and 3 and. All right, hope that doesn't make any sense. This mic's moving around. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Really simple. Now we combine that with this flip-flop foot pattern that we're doing with the downbeat on the left. Now this is the trickiest part for most people because most people are used to doing the right foot is your downbeat on everything. Okay, so we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, and then we're going to combine that with our hands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and that's all it is. Of course, I'm playing it really slow. Now, the cool thing about this is when I teach, we talk about flams. And a long time ago, I started describing flams a little differently than teachers I had had or other things that I had seen. And we could play tight flams. We could play open flams. So I call an open flam a clam. You get the analogy. It's really kind of stupid. Understand I deal with a lot of kids. But, so that flam, instead of playing it really tight, open it up a little bit. Okay? And then we're going to actually, you can take this 1 and 2 and 3 and you can swing a little bit. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and it comes up with a really kind of a cool pattern that's actually really similar to Hot for Teacher, at least the beginning of it. A lot of people will tell me, oh, I heard you playing Hot for Teacher in the beginning. Maybe a little bit. It's close. But there's a few things that we can add on certain beats. But we take that first beat number 1, and we open up that flam, and it turns from this. And I'm going to open up that flam. Now, I changed the pattern a little bit there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. All I'm really doing is going from 3/4 to 2/4 or 4/4, however you want to look at it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Really just depends on how you want to count it. I'm not really counting it at all. I'm just playing that groove. And then I start moving that. Somebody's calling me. I can't get away from my phone. When you start moving that pattern around, all right, you can stay with that same pattern. You can stay with that whole same pattern. And you start moving this around. really come up with some cool melodies. Okay, so now the last thing that I like to do on this is take it and on the, I think it's on the 2. Yeah, 1 and. All right, so 1 and. So I'm gonna take beat 2 with my right hand on the floor tom, and I'm gonna diddle that out a little bit. So, all right, so. All right, and when you stall this a little bit, you open up that beat 1, throw this in here on 2, and then kind of give it a little sniff of swing. It almost sounds like Hoffer Teacher. Notice the whole time I'm doing this, I'm not playing double bass. Okay, I'm just playing. And it's a really kind of a cool pattern. Now, let's see. I didn't prepare to do this, so I'm kind of going. If you take that pattern, and if you can just get that down. Okay, your left hand is standing here with nothing to do. So play 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and just play the left hand on your cymbal, and then just start moving your right hand or your left hand, your right hand. I'll get it right. You just. Okay, so this is really John Bonham-esque. You know, when I was 5, I'm 49 years old, by the way. So when I was 5, I got Zeppelin's first album. I come from a family of musicians, and I was listening to all that stuff. And I used to tape an eraser to my record player and listen to it real slow to figure out what the hell John Bonham was doing. And I started playing the left foot on the downbeat a lot of times back then. But it's very unusual. A lot of people struggle with that. But that's what you got to nail. You got to get that left foot down. There's so much you can do with this pattern. Now, on the rest of that solo, I do go into some double bass stuff. And usually it's just fugga-duggas, really easy. A lot of times what I'm doing there is I'm just doing... which is just 1, 2, 3, and I'm just mixing up. Okay, and I'm usually looking at the crowd, kind of seeing, you know, what they're doing, because a lot of times in a drum solo you can lose your crowd, and it's frustrating because you can sit there and, you know, you can do all kinds of really cool things, and the crowd's just, whatever, dude. You know, they're not into it. I find that when you just, you know, do all these fugga-duggas, especially when I'm in a rock place like this place was, where that video was, they just like the, you know. So a lot of times I'll be looking at the crowd, figuring out, what should I do next? Should I do something, you know, really strong and throbbing, or should I do something funky, or should I just, you know, sometimes you want to, you know, get them dancing or something. So, but I don't do a lot of double bass stuff. Now, I also did this, and that's where I'm thinking. And then usually I just go through some rudiments. And that was supposed to be a flam tap. Yeah, that sucked. And that's just a flam tap, tapping with my left hand. And then I'll do I think it's a paradiddle diddle, and it's something like that. And then 6-stroke rolls, and, you know, just fill it. I just kind of mess around a little bit. And then I'm usually gassed. because we play for 4 hours, and usually that's like the third set. And that was a Friday, and I had already driven 2.5 hours. So a lot of times up. And that's an old Tommy Aldrich thing I saw 30 years ago. It's hard for me to do it because I don't have a rack. And I mean, I have a rack here, but on that kit. And sometimes when I grab my cymbals, I miss. But one time I knocked the cymbal stand right over. But okay, so I'll do that. And just I mean, I really don't stick to a certain format when I'm doing. I mean, I usually start with I like to start with those soul tone cymbals, you know. Now, those soul tone cymbals I use live, and this is a rehearsal kit and a teaching kit, and they're not soul tone cymbals. But those soul tones are awesome. I can't put into words how much I really like those cymbals. Just love them. So anyway, that's what I'm doing there. So not a lot of double bass. There's a little bit of double bass, you know, the one part. But if you can get that foot pattern down, maybe I'll transcribe it out and post it. But anyway, that's it. That's all I'm doing. Thanks for watching this really discombobulated and boring video.